a fucking TED talk a couple years ago about some chick saying that we need house?
I'm looking through comments on this saying that this video we just watched is satire. Really? There you go. Let's go, Joey. Woo, right? Like right away. You're like, Jesus.
He's eating a mint.
Oh.
Or something.
Oh.
Yeah, the whole presidential election, the thing that scares me is if the Democrats stay in power and Biden stays in power, if you have the same administration, we're headed in the same exact direction as we are right now. And if Trump gets into office, then people are going to freak the fuck out. And then there's probably going to be riots. There's probably going to be some craziness. Probably going to be violence. Probably going to be organized stuff, too. There's probably going to be nefarious groups that organize people to start civil unrest. That's
like, that couldn't have been Jamie. Oh no, you know, Comrade Jamie's putting in overtime there. I think that was probably Matt. That was probably Matt. Like, so yeah,
a real thing. You know, whatever those groups are.
You know what? Like, I wish that was a real thing, but I mean, maybe, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the underground is quite, you know, fully developed at this point.
No.
I
Start civil unrest in order to push a narrative about a political movement that the people are tired of Trump, they're hateful. You know what? Jim Brewer has a fucking great bit.
Oh, God.
About the Women's March.
There you go.
He goes, remember when Trump was in office, the Women's March? The Women's March goes, yeah, you knew who a woman was then.
Great
Isn't that a great joke? That's only 2016. 2016, he gets in the office. There's this giant women's march. And now no one can tell you what a woman is. If you had a giant women's march today, we have guys. And you can't say shit. There's your sisters. And then they'll hold an election. The men will win because they're more aggressive. Then you got a man running a women's organization who says he's a woman.
they're so fucking obsessed. Why does every discussion, like, it doesn't happen in everyday life. Like, I don't sit down with my friends and then within like 3 sentences be like, and you know what else is ruining society? Trans people, right? Because they would be like, what the fuck is wrong? Why are you so fucked up? Why are you always talking about that? It's like, yeah, and then, you know, that gay beer comes along, the stuff that makes you trans, right? That Bud Light. What?
It's a crazy fucking world, bro.
You ever see this video? There's this lady in Chicago.
Like, you know, I'm part of the LGBTQ plus community. The LGBTQ plus community does not talk about the LGBTQ plus community as much as right wingers talk about the LGBTQ plus, like, to each other in inner circles. It's not like they don't sit down and just constantly bring up fucking queer folk every other sentence. Yeah, and you know, that's why they don't know what real women are. Know what I'm saying? Yeah, because trans women bathrooms, right? Am I right?
He's running a women's organization who says he's a woman.
It's a crazy fucking world, bro.
You ever see this video? There's this lady in Chicago, and this guy is trying to use the women's room, and she's going in there with her daughter, and this guy has a full beard, just a full beard, and she's yelling at him. She's like, you are a whole man. And he's like, I am a woman. And like, big deep breath, like deep voice, big husky guy with a fucking.
Like, you've all been fooled. You've all been, like, every single right-winger who's like, this is a big problem that happens all the time and it's really scary. You have to watch this video footage. You have to see this. Have you looked at libs at TikTok? Have you seen this? Have you seen how often this happens? Can you see, like, this is unbelievable. It's like, no, you all live in this really weird bubble where you are being force-fed on social media constantly trans panic. Like, you just have a mainline drip, a trans panic being like injected into your veins 24/7, and all of you are just so strange about it all. Like, the fact that like Tim Pool and Tim Pool's team has all these photos immediately when you're like, yeah, that doesn't happen. There's not a phenomenon of like drag queens going to schools and stripping. It's like, oh, bring out the folder, and then all of a sudden it's like all these pictures and all these links and everything. It's like, yeah, how did you defend this? And it's like, this is not indicative of a problem, like a trend that's happening on a scale that we need to worry about it in so far as like, is this an isolated incident? Has this happened once? How often has it happened where we have right-wingers who are like, oh yeah, it's completely fine if like little boys get lap dances from children? That's something Tucker Carlson actually said on Fox News, as if it was like just a normal fucking thing. You're showing examples of doctored photos. Like, in a lot of cases, it's like, that's that's not an event that children are supposed to be at in a school where they have no choice. You're showing something completely different. That's not a drag queen. That just happens to be a stripper. This is a cis woman. This has nothing to do with trans people. This is completely different than what you're saying it is. This isn't a problem. But all of you, like, you all talk about this. Like, did you see this? Have you heard? Like, everyday normies aren't going to be like, yeah, no, I saw that one random video clip of the person where it's like, you know, it looks a lot like what I thought was a man, but then it turned out that man was a woman, but apparently we have to believe that, and then, like, it's really scary for the daughter. Like, no, that I'm sure, like, all the right-wingers who share this on social media, you've all seen, like, you know, Elon Musk and wokeness, Ian Miles Chong retweeting the same story 20 times, then, like, Charlie Kirk does it, then Matt Walsh does it, then Tim Pool does it, then Steven Crowder does it, and then it feels real and scary. Then you're like, holy shit, like, this has been all over the fucking, everyone's talking about this. And it's like, no, all y'all are talking about this and obsessing over this, and now it feels like it's this massive problem. Like, now you've artificially turned it into a huge thing where it's like, everyone's talking about this, big issue, big headline.
We're a fucking psychopaths. This is it. Yeah, click this. Look at this.
So again, the majority of people who harm women, cis women, like, who are the victims of the majority of sexual assaults in washrooms, that's committed by cis men. Cis men are the perpetrators. They're the ones who are committing the assaults of both women and other men. Men are also assaulting other men. Yes, cis men are doing this. Overwhelmingly, it's cis straight men who are doing this. Yes, I know. It's utterly bizarre to find out, even if it's happening to men as male victims, but this is the reality. And so because of that, if you really want to bring attention to this issue and be like, hey, by the way, we need to stop this. This is really important to me. Okay, you never talk about the actual people doing it, though. You only talk about this moral outrage surrounding trans folk. Then it's really scary. Have you heard about this? Oh man, this is so scary. Did you hear apparently that there was this trans woman in a women's prison and she assaulted a person? Isn't that really scary? Doesn't it feel like this is something like the world's gone crazy? It's all anyone's talking about.
Yeah, here's the video.
Don't get in my face. Do not get in my face. Don't get in my face. Don't get in my face.
Look at the size of that dude.
You don't see my daughter right here? You right here? No. You need to go over there to the meeting. You need to go over there to the meeting.
Only here in Chicago.
You is a man. A whole grown man. A whole grown man. For the last time, I'm not mad. I'm sorry. I don't know what.
When you see this guy's a big dude.
Yeah, he is.
With a beard.
On my birthday.
Okay,
good luck. Good luck.
Y'all have a problem with me using the bathroom? Y'all
Good luck.
Hey man, use another bathroom. Excuse me?
Just use another bathroom. There's a child in there.
What?
This is so much more important than children dying from gun violence. It's just like so many aspects of, especially like mainstream media. And Joe Rogan is, you can consider that. He's the largest podcast in the world, on the largest podcast network in the world, the largest music network, streaming music service, Spotify, in the world. So he's, yes, even if he doesn't have a team overseeing him, that's the separate. He's the same thing as mainstream media in terms of his reach. Like 11 million people listening to each episode of this podcast. That's a lot of fucking audience members. That's like, you know, national television numbers. So he's, yes, got a giant audience. He just has no one who does the oversight over it. And at the end of the day, yeah, this is the kind of stuff they're going to focus on all the time, rather than like, hey, do you care a lot about theft? Yeah, it's really scary. Here's a whole bunch of like gangs, roving gangs, robbing Targets. Look at this. They're like breaking stuff, breaking glass. Like, I don't know, they're stealing sneakers and stuff. Like, what's going on? It's scary, right? It's like, yeah, but if you cared about theft, why don't you ever talk about wage theft? Largest form of theft. It just happens, huge numbers. Like, there's not even comparable amounts of theft in other categories, like burglaries, people breaking into homes, people breaking into cars, people robbing each other on the street. None of that comes close than the amount of money that has been stolen in wage theft. But that's never talked about. There's no, tonight at 6, your boss, is he stealing $4 an hour from you? How do you find out? Tonight at 7, is your boss actually not paying you overtime? How do you find out? Tonight at 8, we're going to look into the bosses that don't even pay their workers their adequate legal amounts of money because they think they can get away with it because they get tips. That's right, tonight at 8. Like, that's not the way the media talks about this shit, even though that's the thing that is actually affecting more people's lives. But instead you hear that story about how it's Target. It's Target. The gangs are stealing from Walmart. The gangs are stealing from Target. A Target closed down because people are stealing from it. Oh, look at this. The washrooms. It's trans people. It's trans people. Trans people are going into bathrooms. They're assaulting and hurting people. And it's like, well, the majority of people who are attacking people in bathrooms are actually straight cis people. That's the majority of the assailants. And yeah, that's fucked up. Do we want to bring attention to that? The people who do it? No, I want to show you this clip because isn't this clip scary? Isn't it really scary? This is a person who I think is a man trying to get into a bathroom. Isn't that scary to you?
That's a child.
Just say what you, huh?
That's a child in there.
This is journalism to
Like,
Joe.
this is men's bathroom.
Okay. I'm a woman. What's the matter? What's the matter? Y'all need to mind your business. I need to mind your business.
This is where world is coming to. I don't know what you're about.
So that's a real thing. Now, the people that want to deny that.
I don't think so.
To let you know that is, in fact, not a real
I think we have to keep it going, though. Yeah.
Y'all need to mind your business. I need to mind your business.
This is where world is coming to. I don't know what you're about.
So that's a real thing. Now, the people that want to deny that that's a real thing, you're doing a disservice for everyone. You're doing a disservice to all the innocent women that have to go into those bathrooms and don't feel safe, and you're doing a disservice to real trans people. There's gonna be a bunch of people that game your system, and there's gonna be a bunch of perverts with fucking beards.
Why is this a thing? Because you're getting Joe Rogan, Dave Chappelle's, people who are like big old Team Turf transphobes being like, hey, I mean, I'm not saying I want to, but if I was to, you know, molest people, this is how I'd go about it. I mean, that's just like, if people are able to do that, if they're able to dress up as women and then go into women's spaces like bathrooms, prisons, I mean, that's how they're going to get away with it. People are going to, like, you know, game the system, and then they're going to take advantage of it. And it's like, do you even care about this shit? Did you care about people being assaulted? Do you care about children being abused? If you did, you'd be like, okay, so the majority of people who are abusing children, friends, family members, people in close proximity to them, people who may see them on a regular basis away from their parents and isolate them, such as priests, for example, huge amount of priests abusing kids. These are the child abusers, right? But every single time it's like, well, here's a very scary clip. Here's a really scary story. Yeah, of course, there's going to be stories of trans people who abuse other people, who sexually assault them or abuse kids, because trans people are not a monolith. There's good trans people, there's bad trans people. But in terms of representation, the majority of people who are abusing people are cis folk. In fact, trans people are going to be more likely to be the victims of abuse, either sexual abuse or abuse as children and stuff like that, than their counterparts. So, like, at the same time, framing it this way, or focusing on it, or spending all day being like, oh, fuck, bro, did you see this clip? Did you see this clip? Oh, this is so scary. This news article's so fucked up.
Who want to go where the little girls are shitting. People are out of their minds. There's a certain percentage of people that are out of their fucking minds. It doesn't mean that all trans people are bad. It doesn't mean that all trans people are out of their minds. It means that you have
to... all cis people aren't bad. Hashtag, not all cis people, all right? Hashtag, not all cis. Yeah, not every cis person is a pedophile. Not every cis person is a molester. The majority of molesters, the majority of sexual assaulters are cis. That doesn't mean every single cis person is one, but if you want to look towards the people who are committing these acts, well then yeah, there's your categories. You can leave trans people out of this one. You don't have to keep being like, well, yeah, but then like this drag queen did this. Well, yeah, but like drag queens, why do they want to do that? Why do they want to perform in front of kids? Why does anyone want to perform, period? And what about them has to be inherently sexual? And why do you think the performance has to be a sexual performance? And again, this seems like a lot more projection, right?
To know what's crazy and what's not. And that's fucking crazy.
Trading the S&P
You have to know, all right, go through this. You have to know what is real and what is not, folks. You need to be able to make that assessment. And if not, you're just deluding yourself. You don't have a clue as to what's going on. This is happening all across the country. Guys with beards insisting they go into the bottom line is, did Joe Rogan just find out that somewhere there are pedophiles or assaulters? I mean, like, as if this doesn't exist or it never existed before.
Right.
Good.
Beard trying to get into a bathroom when a mother and her daughter are in there.
What has this got to do with trans anything?
That's crazy.
But it's so true. It's like, yeah, okay. It's a scary story. Absolutely. Who's on the other side of this, by the way? Who's like, look, all right, in order to be PC, okay, in order to be an adequate woke, okay, to be an SJW, to be able to virtue signal to the adequate degree, you got to be able to say that even if someone's very, very frightening and they're like, I'm going to harm kids, and they've got a beard and they're running into a children's bathroom, you're not allowed to judge them in any way, shape, or form, okay? You can't, because that, like, what if it turns out that person was trans? Then you're the bad person. It's like, no. If someone's like, I'm going to harm kids and they're trying to get into a bathroom, then most likely, hopefully you're going to do something and be like, no, I'm going to intervene on this. I'm not going to let you go harm children. Like, it has nothing to do with them being trans or cis. They had a beard. The beard was scary to me. Oh, I don't know. Cis women have beards. That doesn't change. Like, scary person trying to do something violent or scary. Yes, please. You can call them out. No one's on the other side of this.
Cops weren't called.
Well,
yeah, it's still illegal,
Chicago, right?
And what happens if the cops come now? What happens in that situation if the cops come? There was no
I'll tell
assault.
you what
That was in
happens.
San Francisco. They might arrest that lady.
You guys,
They might arrest her for being a
shouldn't
bigot.
shoot the sketch.
Who fucking
without a
knows,
permit.
man?
Go ahead, keep going. Keep going.
It's Narnia out there. It's a fantasy world.
Only if you are living online as a right-winger and you're being fed, again, this trans panic just on a regular basis. You're getting so much of it that it seems so much scarier than it truly is, to the point where people, politicians, they're passing legislation in places like Ohio, for example, where it's like they are trying to pass draconian laws that affect a very small amount of the fucking percentage of the population. And be like, you should have different sets of rights. You should have different sets of healthcare. You should be treated differently. And we're going to spend time and taxpayer money and resources on this. And it's like, why? Well, we're really worried. The indoctrination of kids and groomers, and we got to stop the pedophiles. Sound of Freedom. Did you watch that movie? We got to stop. This is the only way. We got to protect them kids. And it's like, well, you're making everything more dangerous. You're going to make things way worse for people who happen to be LGBTQ+. You're making it way scarier for queer kids. You're just endangering their lives. People are calling in bomb threats, death threats, all this kind of shit. And for what? This isn't making the world safer. This isn't making the world better. It's making everyone more afraid. Absolutely. Like, now parents of, LGBTQ plus kids, they have to move out of state. They got to move away. They got to get out of there, because all of a sudden it's like, yeah, everyone's just lost their minds. They're all talking fucking like a bunch of misinformed, deranged, frightening Christian zealots all the time, every day.
People have lost their fucking mind, and I think it's engineered. I think that China has been TikToking these fucking people into a coma.
Which people, Joe?
How did we get here? And you know who really did this? China. Yeah, it was at the end of the day. I mean, come on, right? Was anyone even queer before TikTok existed? Is there evidence on this? Like, apparently people are more queer now than ever before, and that has to do with the fact that TikTok, China. But like, what about prior? Pre-TikTok? Were there queer people on Vine?
All those little videos where, trans awareness and, and maybe you're trans and there are no genders, just 100, and then psychos like that guy.
Oh, this is way worse than I thought. I didn't know that he went this far off the deep end. I love that he tried to rein it in like 2 or 3 times, right? He was like, yo, no, I'm not saying that, like, you should be fucking mean to trans people. So I'm saying, bro, okay, there's actual real trans people. I'm just saying that there's people who hijack it, right? And fuck it up for everyone else. And then all of a sudden they program you and they make you watch hypnotic sissy porn, bro. And then all of a sudden you can't tap out, you just start pounding Monster and thinking all about, that delicious juicy cock. And you're like, dude, what the fuck? Chill the fuck out. What is the algorithm feeding you, Joe? Why are you seeing all this shit on TikTok? Yeah, I just see like all these hard bodies all day, just one after the other, and they keep telling you like maybe something's up, maybe you should be into this. And I'm like, I don't want to see this, and then like based on how long I stare at any one image, maybe the algorithm starts to determine whether or not they should feed me more of this kind of information, knowing that I won't be able to turn away. And maybe that could have something to do with it, but it's China. China's doing it. China's making all the kids queer.
Now think that the culture has moved to the point where they can kind of get away with it.
Look at his eyes.
Maybe the culture.
Yeah, what the fuck? I remember this used to be Shu On Head's excuse, Shu On Head used to do this shit where it's just like, hey, by the way, no. I'm not against gay people. I'm not against LGBTQ plus folk. That's not why I'm doing all these stories. It's just because I'm trying to keep the LGBTQ plus community safe from the pedophiles that have infected it. And then you're like, do you know how much the LGBTQ plus community has to work to fight against pedophiles who try to take advantage of queers? Because pedophiles, including the majority of whom are cis heterosexuals prey on fucking kids in the LGBTQ plus community, because sometimes they can be more vulnerable, because sometimes they're thrown out of their homes. Did you know that the majority of homeless youth are LGBTQ plus? Nearly half of all the homeless youth, unhoused, living on the streets, vulnerable to people trying to take advantage of them, being like, oh yes, you can have a place to stay. Yeah, they happen to be queer. They're preyed upon by these fucking pedophiles. It's fucked up. They have to fight constantly against that to keep themselves safe. So no, you're not making things any safer as long as you keep doing this shit. Like, look at his eyes. Look at his eyes. Like, and then they think they can do this. They think they can do whatever the fuck they want. Look what they're doing. This shit is making everyone terrified. Yeah, okay. If some guy at home is all of a sudden like, I was listening to Joe Rogan for 2 hours and he basically told me how trans women are trying to like kick in the doors of bathrooms so that they can rape kids. I'm really scared now. Yeah, these scary trans women. Some of them have beards even, and they're trying to like go after kids. Like, yeah, you're probably gonna get a lot of people riled up, get a lot of people real angry. A lot of heavily armed Americans might take matters into their own hands, you know, after a couple Budweisers.
Change their opinion on things. I think I can get away with this. I think I can wear my full beard with my dick out
Joey still there?
And go.
Can't even parody this. Like, I say this shit as a bit, and then 2 seconds later, Joe's like, that's why with fucking beards, fucking dicks out, huge erect thong, dong, fucking. Like, what the fuck is going on, Joe?
Around women. And there's gonna be guys like that, just like there's real trans people. There's gonna be guys that are crazy, that take advantage of.
You sound fucking crazy. You got those crazy ass eyes right now. You're like, oh no, he's peacocking.
This thing that I think has been at least partially engineered by other countries. I think.
What, like, this shit is not right. You know, like, the shit is so fucking disturbing. You gotta have this weird worldview where, like, make it make sense, bro. You know, like, there's all these LGBTQ plus people. Why is there more now? Where are they coming from? China. They gotta be coming from China, bro. It's the only thing that makes sense. So, you know, 2 quick parts. Obviously, if you watch me debating Tim Pool, you may have seen me pull out the big old chart demonstrating how, of course, there was a period in time when people who were left-handed, they were vilified by society. And as they were considered sinister and devilish, if you will, possessed by Satan's own hands himself, you know, they were beaten for being left-handed. We tried to prevent people from being left-handed. And then as we did that, of course, a lot of people were not reporting being left-handed, because who wants to go through that, right? Make life harder on yourself, or simply learn how to use a completely different hand. Like, everyone who's right-handed, try learning how to write with your left hand fluently right now. Go do it, and then try to excel in school. See how that works out for you. So that's something we did. As we stopped doing that, because we were like, this is ridiculous, it has no bearing in reality, some people are just naturally born left-handed, the number of left-handed people started to rise. Now, that wasn't because of some woke indoctrination coming from newspapers in China, or maybe they were suddenly doing like secret messaging inside, like, you know, packages of tea or something like that, where people would read it and be like, you should be left-handed. I have to do this. Yes, it's the Chinese who are controlling this all. That's not a part of history. No, it's just weird xenophobia coming from Joe Rogan right now, where he's trying to be like, well, why is there so many queer people? It doesn't make sense. Has to be. Only thing that makes sense is they're being indoctrinated through TikTok. No. Once again, studies are now coming out showing that the prevalence of people who are identifying as LGBTQ plus is starting to plateau. As in, yes, once again, as we as a society don't stigmatize people for a variety of things, and once the definition of what is considered LGBTQ plus continues to expand as we understand more about the human experience, it's beautiful. Don't be afraid. But yes, people who happen to be asexual, aromantic, people who don't happen to be cis, who happen to be trans, could be considered part of the LGBTQ plus. That's completely fine and normal and valid, and they're all wonderful. And guess what? People who are reporting that, as life becomes more safe, they have more access to information, and they understand what a lot of these things mean, they start to report being LGBTQ plus. But like we were expecting to see, we are now seeing these trends plateau once again. So it's not like in any way, shape, or form something you have to be scared of. It's not the Chinese doing this. It's not like Michael Knowles has said that you can have like hypnotic sissy porn, and that's making more people ever than before interested in this. It's not like perhaps more people than you may have thought were interested in things other than just regular heterosexual sexual experiences. It turns out people may have been interested in other things. And as more people felt more comfortable or had more access to being able to look at that or experience that kind of stuff, suddenly they're like, oh yes, I do enjoy this. I enjoy the rich tapestries of life. There's more options than ever before. But it's not in reverse. You can't do it in the other direction. You're not secretly like hypnotizing society and making a whole bunch of non-binary people suddenly be like, oh yeah, I'm not a man or a woman. That's true. It's weird that they tried to say that I was a man or a woman. I'm not that. And it's like, well, yes, because you've been indoctrinated by the Chinese.
The algorithm supporting that and pushing that out to people. People are super easily influenced, man. Super easily influenced.
Oh, you know what? Pause it. Actually, they are super easily influenced. I mean, imagine how influenced some people might be by their favorite podcaster who speaks with authority, who's out there, gets paid $100 million by a corporation. Corporation that has a, like, I mean, I don't believe everything that's in print, but I mean, if you got a company that is spending $100 million on one of the biggest podcasts in the world.
Well, you know what? I have to do my part, everybody. I'm now going to activate a whole bunch of you. You never knew it before, but suddenly, look at this. Bam. Whoa. Oh, look at that. Some of you are suddenly ace. You have no control. Now some of you are pansexual. That's right. A few of you just became bi, and one or two of you just became trans. Yes, it's happening in real time because the images and the colors are now being seen. The refracted light in all its varieties is converting all of you. Enjoy the woke mind virus, everybody.
World. People are easily influenced. It's true. It's almost like we shouldn't have nefarious actors out there trying to influence people. And those people who do have big influence should have a responsibility to actually have a single iota of knowledge and sort of done a single moment of work to know that what they're saying.
By the way, you know, this is all so gross, but a really good example of people just not willing to learn anything new or listen and then suddenly just becoming bigots in the process. Because, like, look at all these old comedy legends, okay? I can take Graham Linehan, for example, you know, creator of the It Crowd. We could take someone like John Cleese of Monty Python fame, Ricky Gervais, one of the highest paid and most famous British comedians active today, Dave Chappelle, my personal inspiration. I consider him to be one of the funniest comedians in human history, the GOAT, if you will. All of them doing this massive transphobic turn, right? Suddenly we see this other exception to the rule of all these, you know, old legends who just can't figure this shit out. Will Ferrell. One of Will Ferrell's best friends turns out to be trans, comes out as a trans woman later in life, and Will Ferrell has absolutely no idea about trans people. Like most of us, myself included, by the way. I've said this multiple times. If you were to go like 10 years into the past or 15 years into the past and you were asking me, Lance, what are your thoughts on trans people and the trans experience? I probably wouldn't know. I wouldn't know much to speak about it. I'd probably say a bunch of ignorant fucking backward shit. Because again, yeah, I've no, what is that? Are you talking about like men playing dress up or something, or drag queens or something? No, trans people. Yeah, so you're cis trans. Like I would know all this. Will Ferrell didn't either. And rather than be an asshole and isolate someone or suddenly become a bigot or be like, oh, fucking, there's too much shit to learn. I gotta learn new things. He started doing a bunch of research. He started doing lots of research, as someone should do for someone that they care about, someone that they love, for example, someone that they like, oh, I just want to learn more about this. I want to help out and I want to be a part of your life. And part of that is who you are as a person. So sure, I'll learn on this, and completely changed his thoughts on a lot of these things. As one would do if they did a bunch of research and all of a sudden learned. This is the subject of a new documentary that's coming out starring Will Ferrell. Of course, he's going to be at the front of it. And it's wonderful, again, to see someone like Will Ferrell, and as prestigious and huge as he is as a comedian, to do something like this. And it's important. Because, yeah, absolutely. No one is like born knowing all this shit, you know. I always tell friends who might not be like as active in, say, like LGBTQ plus activism or stuff like that, if you have questions, ask me. Like, don't feel embarrassed. If you're worried about, like, you know, how someone sees you, just talk to me, ask me. I can tell you a whole bunch of stuff, at least the stuff I know, and then where I have gaps, I'll tell you that I'm not actually totally sure about that, but I'm trying to learn stuff like that. So yeah, the door is wide open. Learn stuff, but also put in the effort. You know, don't just run to conclusions. Don't just run up to like people in groups that you don't completely understand and just make all of these kind of like, you know, very, very objectionable statements because you just don't know what you're talking about. And that's a beautiful thing that, like, you know, Will Ferrell did.
Has any basis in reality or truth. It's almost just like that.
Trans, everything is fine as long as you.
What is Why does that keep happening every time the word trans is uttered? Joe Rogan, he assumes his ultimate form, like he's leveling up here. It's like, dude. It's extra fucked up knowing that he's one of the, like, you know, the avowed chasers, by the way. Like, Joe Rogan is on multiple different instances when asked about, like, trans porn, but like, oh, dude, it's so fucking amazing. You get everything, bro. It's everything you ever wanted, bro. Yeah, I love trans porn, bro. By the way, why am I supposed to accept them as human beings? Why do I have to do that? Why can't I just hypersexualize them all the time?
Call it trans. Well, then what about perverts? Don't you think perverts are going to game that
Still
system?
against the law, Joe.
This is a Willy Wonka golden ticket for perverts.
Yes, seems to be the route that the perverts are taking. No, not at all. Actually, like, perverts are not doing that. Perverts are not just overwhelmingly going through years and years of HRT in order to be able to qualify for a sports team, just so they can play on a team sports, and then suddenly in that moment they use, like, the locker rooms to be able to abuse and molest women. It's just not happening. You know, it seems like when people want to mock this, say like the Lady Ballers crew, and they're like, hey, did you, this was supposed to be a documentary, right? Yeah, it was. So we originally wanted to actually make a documentary where we got a bunch of guys to join a bunch of women's leagues and then really beat the fuck out of them. We couldn't do it though, because we couldn't really find anyone who was willing to go through this procedure. Turns out it's not just like a really simple thing. It's not like you could just like put on a wig and then join a sports team. That's not a thing. We made that up. Not real. Not a thing that happens. Turns out it's actually a pretty life-changing experience, which to do as a cis person would give you a lot of gender dysphoria. Yeah, it turns out that's real too. Gender dysphoria, totally real thing that no actual like cis man wanted to go through in order to pretend to be a trans woman. We couldn't find anyone to do that. So we made it up and made a comedy about it. So that's Lady Ballers. Yeah. So the thing that we found out is not real, and we learned that along the way, we're going to now pretend is real in order to make a video that vilifies people who are trans. Yes. Because we learned nothing.
No, that's what it is.
Wasn't there a fucking TED Talk a couple years ago about some chick saying that we need pedophiles?
I'm looking through comments on this saying that this video we just watched is satire. Really?
What? No way. No way. Are you serious? Chats, did you know this? You all did, didn't you? You fucking... Of fucking course. Of course. Yo, he can't even find clips. He can't even find clips of like fake outrage to spread on the internet. He's got to use sketches now. They're out of scary clips. They've already watched them all. Yo, bro, have you seen the one? Which one? The one where there's like a guy in a beard and he's like trying to get into a bathroom, bro? The sketch? But this one? Yeah. What is it? Mad TV? It's the South Park. Have you seen that that like documentary with like the flapping heads and they're like Canadians and Canadians' heads that go like that? Yeah, bro. They're like, and they're saying people want to be dolphins, bro. Scary.
Yeah, I've seen other videos like this where there are people that I don't know who they are, but there are groups of people that will make videos like this that make them.
That's so funny. That's just after I brought that up too. That's like just right after I talked about Lady Ballers. So that is also true. If you didn't know, Jeremy Boring, who wrote Lady Ballers, and also I didn't know this aspect until I listened to someone else's like review of Lady Ballers. I haven't seen the film, but like someone went real deep on Lady Ballers and the lore behind it. Jeremy Boring writes this character of this woman who's like disproportionately more attractive than him and is obsessed with him sexually, and this is like no one even in the right-wing circles kind of picked up on this. And also like Matt Walsh is in the film playing this like, you know, woke faux liberal whatever character, basically a Sacha Baron Cohen ripoff from like This Is America, but like in the end he just becomes Matt Walsh, and like they don't even go through the trouble of explaining why. He's just another victory for Daddy Walsh, and everyone's like, Daddy Walsh, wait, sorry, are you playing yourself now? Are you yourself in the movie? Doesn't need to be addressed. That's just like, that's the tier that they're dealing with. But he admits in an interview, which I have seen with Ben Shapiro, where they're talking about Lady Ballers, the whole thing, like they wanted to make an actual Lady Ballers like documentary style Borat. They go deep within like, you know, a women's league, and they get a whole bunch of men to participate in a women's league to like, you know, obviously beat them up and stuff like that, because it's going to be epic, fucking hilarious. We're just going to go beat up a bunch of girls. We'll be so funny. And they couldn't, because like it turns out you can't just do that. You can't just join a women's league as a cis man. You have to be able to demonstrate through a lot of hormonal replacement therapy that you are in fact transitioning, and there are rules and regulations for a lot of this put in place. And like, yeah, it turns out it's not real, but we're doing it anyway. Same thing here. all of Joe Rogan's weird ass fucking creepy eyes and like you know, that look he's making nonstop where he's like, this is what they're doing, the sickos, the perverts, blah, blah. It's all based on a fucking sketch. You got fooled by a sketch. Well, was it Ian Miles Chong? Because I know Ian Miles Chong has posted clips of sketches, and then when people like point out to him like this isn't real, he's like, I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. I'm just making money.
Seem real?
Sketch groups?
God, that lady's a great actress.
That's
I'm
so
not saying
funny.
this, I'm looking at a lot of comments.
That's so funny. What a fucking clown. Oh man, he's bigots, and it's not going to change any of their minds. Because again, like, you should on some level be able to say, even if that was true, which yeah, there's clips I'm sure of trans people doing terrible things caught on camera. Even if that clip is true, isn't indicative of a society-wide problem that warrants the amount of attention you focus. The answer is always no, because they're just like obsessed. So it's just like, yeah, you have this scary clip, and now it's like, this is the one that's all over the Daily Mail, and Andy No has posted about it, and Tim Pool's posted about it. We've all talked, but in this case, they're not even doing clips anymore. It's just sketches. Just like a transphobic shit. Like Babylon Bee is going to be used as a news source soon. Bro, did you see on the Babylon Bee? Yeah, apparently like the meme lord of Mars in the universe is actually Elon Musk. Like, I didn't know that, bro. Like, he's actually the meme lord of Mars.
Her fault.
Staged.
She was too good.
Well, they might be right, but that lady,
But-
if that's
Oh
true,
my
that
God.
lady's a
But
fucking great actress. Because that lady really did seem like someone who was very flustered and was trying to protect her daughter.
Yes, you.
But do you not want to roll back any of the rest? None of it? This whole worldview conspiracy? He was talking about fucking China indoctrinating you through TikTok. That's the thing he just did. He was going off about it. He's like, the only thing that explains this, bro, on how there's like all of these people now, all these trans people, it's got to be China. It's got to be the TikTok videos. All of a sudden they're telling you that you're a they, them, and people are like, powerless to resist. I know, go by they, them. Turns out the whole thing was a sketch. You got fooled by it. Maybe it's up here. Like, maybe you are the fucking enemy, you know? Like, it's not fear is the mind killer. Joe Rogan's brain is the mind killer. That's what's going down here.
And if it is satire and you use that dart, that girl was a really good actress too, because she looked like a girl would respond if a fucking...
You're still doing it. Like, goddamn, you your own poison. Stop. You don't have to do this. You don't have to hurt anymore. You know, you can turn this off at any time. Trans people. Thank you. I feel better now. This is nice. Yeah, no, I know. They don't have to hurt me anymore. These ghosts, phantoms, apparitions of my own design, my own nightmares. They don't have to hurt me anymore. I'm a free boy. Yeah, I can go worry about other things.
A grown man was trying to get in the bathroom and their mother was fighting with this grown man. Like, she was frozen.
Yeah.
So if
Focus
that's
on that
true,
part, you fuck.
if that is fake, they're really good actors.
Yeah.
I can't believe this
The world was
happened.
going crazy.
Okay, so
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Can you please hit the like and subscribe button and maybe leave a comment? It really does help the videos out. But first, the people who produce everything you see before you and make this entire channel possible: Amazing Fletch, Anna Loves Riley, Ariane McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Multimondi, Omni, Peanut Butter Blondie, Political Puppy, Quiet 185, Rachel K, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Ruby K, Cernicus, Spinach Monster, Stellar Vision, Sebastian DeMel, Trevbot.exe, Words Greenwood, and Travis McClinton. And also, thank you to every other person who helps fund this show. Their names are on the screen right now. It would not be possible without every single one of them. We cannot thank you enough. And if you want to join the Patreon, please come to patreon.com/theserfs and help us exist.